Good afternoon. I am Liza Holland, and I'm a member of the Nonpartisan League of Women Voters of Lexington, and I will be serving as moderator for this forum for LFUCG City Council District 12. The League of Women Voters of Lexington is the sponsor today, and this forum and all the others will be available later by going to the League website, lwvlexington.com. We have two candidates here today with us for this election. They are Mr. Raymond Alexander and Ms. Kathy Plomin. Thank you so much for joining us. We will be following the league policies and procedures for the forum. And in order to give the candidates a fair chance to be heard, we have randomly drawn through random.org for the order of opening remarks and questions, and a second time for closing remarks. Each candidate will have 60 seconds to introduce themselves, 60 seconds to respond to questions, and 60 seconds for closing remarks. Our questions have been created by the sponsors, and we've also solicited questions from the public on our website. You are still welcome to submit questions. And so as I mentioned, we will also do we did a second drawing, which wound up the same this time for Mr. Alexander first, and Ms. Plomin will end our session there. So without further ado, I think we will go on to our questions. And Mr. Alexander, actually, you have opening remarks first, and so you have 60 seconds for your opening remarks.
Yes, I'm Raymond Alexander. I live in the Cumberland Hill neighborhood. Been married for 35 years. Got two grown children, one granddaughter. I'm a United States Marine Corps veteran and also retired from the Lexington Police Department in 2017. The reason I'm running is I think the city is going in the wrong direction, and we've got to do something about public safety. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Plomin.
Hello, everybody. I'm Kathy Plomin. I am now in my 6th year of serving as the 12th District Council member. My background is I was at the CBS affiliate for 21 years, and also I was president of the United Way of the Bluegrass for 9 years. I've been very involved in our community. I know where the resources are, and I can use those resources to meet the needs of Lexington and city and the council, and the county. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You'll go ahead and take this first question first. What do you see as the single most important issue facing your district, and what's your plan to address it in the future?
Aside from public safety, because that's a big issue for the whole community, for my district, it would be the expansion of the urban service boundary. The 12th district is 70% of the land mass in Fayette County. So any expansion of the urban service boundary will dramatically impact the urban service boundary and the rural district. So that's a big issue. Also connectivity, fiber optics in the 12th, because you've got so many homes that just are not connected, poor internet service. And so with the infrastructure bill that came from the federal government, we're going to be addressing that and moving it forward. It was so obvious during the pandemic. You had people trying to work from home, you had kids trying to go to school. So that is a big priority for the 12th district. Public safety, as I said, is a big deal for the whole community, and including the 12th. But I just wanted to accentuate the two that really stand out for the 12th.
Thank you so much. Mr. Alexander.
Public safety is number one, but within public safety, you have the police shortage that we have there. It's also E911 with the phone takers and the dispatchers, and also corrections. They're down a lot of officers too. 12th district is unique because you have some large subdivisions, but you also have a lot of rural. So if the police are tied up downtown on shootings and all this stuff, the folks out in the rural part of the county, their police response is going to be, it's going to take a while for anyone to get to them. As far as the internet out there, Spectrum has started an RDOF program, I guess, where they got a bunch of billions of dollars from the federal government. And that is starting right now. And they will be building fiber to everywhere out in the county.
Thank you so much. You'll go ahead and take this question first. Following up on the obvious and looming public safety issues, this question says, regarding increased violence in our community, it seems for so long that we have only treated the symptoms of increased violence and haven't really worked to decrease violence nor increase trust between our community and law enforcement and government. Question is, how do you plan to implement policies and practices that focus on the roots of the issue, that seek to repair racial and economic disparities and mistrust of law enforcement and our government?
Well, a few years ago, if you drove around Lexington, you saw police cars everywhere. That's not the case today. I think we need to get back into more proactive policing, but also community policing. It's called like the broken windows theory, but people need to see the police. I mean, we had walking beats and all that. I was in a mounted unit for 13 years, and a cruiser drives by and people can't, run out in the street to talk to them. But like people on a walking beat or bikes or horses, the people tend to come up and want to talk to you. And they do tell you information that's going on in their community because they want to live in a safe community too. So that would be, we need to get back to some older policing, I would say.
Thank you so much. Ms. Plomin.
Well, like I mentioned, public safety is just one of those basic things that the city needs to provide. Right now, we're 105 police officers short. And yesterday I went to the retirement the retirement event. There were 47 police officers and staff that are leaving, but that 105 does include some of them. The big reason we need to give them more money. We need to. You go to our adjoining counties, they pay more and they're safer. So if you were a police officer, wouldn't you want to go someplace that's safer and that you're going to make more money? So we'll be looking at a pretty significant increase when we look at our fund balance in the next month. And hopefully we'll be able to compensate at a level that is meaningful and significant. I will also add that one of the things we have that I think is really cool, it's called One Lexington. And what it is, it's a program that's designed to target our younger male Black men. Unfortunately, that is kind of the segment that's involved in a lot of this violence. And so this I guess I got to stop, mentoring and all kinds of cool stuff. So it's making an impact.
Thank you so much. And you can feel free to finish your sentence when the stop comes up. No problem.
Okay, thank you.
Next question, Ms. Plomin, you'll take first, regarding transportation. Says many citizens in the region lack private transportation and must rely on accessible, reliable, safe, and affordable public transportation. What measures do you support to meet the needs of a growing population in Lexington and extending into Fayette County and adjacent counties who require public transportation for their jobs, medical care, groceries, and other needs?
Unfortunately, there is a stigma in our community with public transportation buses. And I think that if you drive down Nicholas Hill Road, look at how many cars have one person driving in them. It's a mentality. And I'm not sure how you change that, but I think that we are doing things like we're doing walking and bike trails, really trying to get that more centered. I think we now have 128 miles of trails for bikes and for walking, which is a good thing. But again, the public transportation, perhaps there's some type of incentivizing or some type of access that would be more attractive for our population, but it is a problem. It really is. And especially for our lower income folks. I mean, they need to be on the corridors that have transportation and have the health and human services close by. So I think that transportation is an issue, a serious issue for our city.
Mr. Alexander.
As far as Lextran, I guess when I grew up in high school in Lexington, I rode it around some, but haven't been on it. But if you look at the buses now, unless you're around UK, they're pretty much empty. I think they need to go to some smaller buses. And if they had smaller buses, maybe they could create more routes that wouldn't be so expensive. So.
Okay, thank you so much. You'll take this next question first. The 12th has a good part of our rural community, and the agriculture sector has about a $2.3 billion impact on Fayette County. Accounts for over 8.5 million of the city's payroll revenue. It is poised to grow with the support of Mayor Gorton's administration for making Fayette County a center for ag tech. As a council member, what are your priorities for agriculture and food system economy?
Well, I grew up in Powell County for 7 years. Most of my life was spent in Lexington. My whole family is in the horse industry, thoroughbreds. I don't want to impact the thoroughbred industry at all. If we can make it grow, we can. And we have to have farmers. And a lot of the restaurants in Lexington, they thrive on the local product. And I'm all for that too. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Plomin.
Well, the rural area is so important, not just the economic impact, but it's our signature brand. I mean, folks come here because we have the most desirable environment in terms of just beauty, and also there's nothing else like it in the world. And we're known for that. So we need to protect it. We need to respect it. And I mentioned the urban service boundary. I don't think we need to expand it. We'll jeopardize what is out there and what is so meaningful. I look at just some of the businesses that are out there. They're not just horse farms. I look at folks like a Spy Coast that's out on Ironworks Parks. It's like a factory. There's like 7 different businesses that are operating out there. So it's not, like I said, it's not just about beautiful horse farms. It is about something that is so special, and we, like I said, we need to protect it and respect it.
Thank you so much. You'll go ahead and take this next question first. The debate surrounding the Lexington Soccer Club's proposed youth fields on Newtown Pike presented an interesting case of balancing new development versus protecting current business interests and agricultural areas. Where do you stand on this situation? And generally, what is your stance on expansion and development versus protecting current interests?
Is that mine?
That's yours, so sorry.
Okay, well, the soccer fields and all of that was quite the situation for our community. And of course, Fasig-Tipton was going to be right adjacent to those soccer fields. And can you imagine, $1 million horses, and you've got lights and concessions, which was going to come later, and 12 soccer fields? Newtown Pike, I was driving down Newtown Pike just yesterday, and I'm looking at the traffic, and you're going to have these folks. So it went away, and for the right reasons. I love soccer fields, and I think they're going to go out on 8th and Spoonsboro. I don't know about the stadium yet, but we just got to be careful. We just have to be careful. And I think that really was a statement to not just our rural area, but to our community. What's important? And so the right decision was made.
Thank you so much. Mr. Alexander.
I guess the soccer fields, it was going to be downtown across from Rupp, and then it moved out Newtown Pike. It's not there either. I don't know if Lexington can support that venue. I mean, remember we had hockey and the Legends. I guess they have 2 different teams now. I don't know how it's not growing like it used to. So I don't even know if Lexington could support that. But as far as build it out in the rural, I think I-75 and 64, there's a lot of land there that could be developed. But it's kind of the syndrome, not in my neighborhood where these things move to. But as far as Fasig-Tipton, yes, there's a lot of horse flesh that's sold there, and it's kind of like Masterson Station, the fairgrounds and the soccer fields there. There's complaints out there of the noise, so I understand it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Alexander, you'll take this question first. We've had a tremendous number of questions come in regarding affordable housing. And part of that involves gentrification. What, in your opinion, what means can be employed to protect communities where residents are vulnerable to displacement by investors? What can legally be done to reclaim or recover property underutilized by investors, property standing vacant, for instance?
As far as property being vacant, if the taxes aren't paid, I guess the sheriff's department can take the property and it can be torn down and redeveloped. But as far as affordable housing, there is no affordable housing. There's no affordable anything right now with the mortgage rates going up and the price of all materials and the shortage of materials. About the only thing we can do is try to build more housing, or that should drive the cost down a little bit. But to me, there is no affordable housing. Everybody's looking for subsidized housing, but somebody has to pay for all this. And there's no real answer to that to me, except, build more. It's kind of like on the widget thing. But with that, it costs more now. I mean, a lot of people that were in contract for housing have dropped it because they can't afford it because of the mortgage rates. So they're walking away from them. But it's a huge problem. It's not nothing that Lexington can solve. This is a nationwide problem. And until interest rates and cost of goods and inflation lowers, there won't be any.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Plomin.
Yes, well, affordable housing, across the country is a challenge. Here in Lexington, and so we have the Office of Affordable Housing, and I think we've leveraged $36.5 million since it came into existence, and also the ARPA funding that we had, $121 million coming in from the federal government. We were able to earmark a lot of that for affordable housing and rent assistance. When you think about affordable housing, you look at you've got two different kinds of affordable housing. You've got those folks that want to buy a medium income and they can't afford it anymore, but you also have the low income that folks that need to have something that they can have access to. So you got two different things going on. We are working really hard on making affordable housing available, but also to try to incentivize our developers to make it worth their while to develop. It's easy to sprawl. It's easy to sprawl, but affordable housing needs to be in our corridors so that it's close to transportation, as I said before, and also health and human services. So we're working on it.
Thank you so very much. You'll take this question first, Ms. Plomin. One of the areas that is really being affected by this housing crisis is our older population. And so this person is asking about starting to think out of the box and would like you to comment on the current regulation of accessory dwelling units or ADUs, and whether you think it's effective, and would you wish to change the regulations? If so, how?
Well, ADUs, we spent a lot of time looking at that. And we came back and we took what was proposed and we kind of brought it down. So you can have 800 square feet, but there are other restrictions with ADUs. I don't think that it will come back, and I don't think we'll change it. When it first came to us, it was kind of open and kind of wild a little bit. I mean, it had a lot of questions. So you can have an ADU now, but it is 800 square feet and it has to be somebody that's related to you. So that's where we are now. Other cities have gone ahead with it, like a Portland and Seattle. But I think at the time that we were dealing with it, that we made the best decision we could with the restrictions that seemed to be acceptable to the majority of the folks that we were talking to.
Thank you. Mr. Alexander.
Is the ADU, are these the tiny houses?
Yep.
Is that what you're referring to?
Granny pods, or yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I'm opposed to that. I mean, if someone, caregiver or something like that, they should be able to do that inside the house. But I'm just speaking of my street on Cumberland Hill. If you had more parking there, so say everyone had one of these, my street's not wide enough for a car to park on either side of the street, and a fire truck could not get between them. So to me, it would just cause more problems. And I'm just speaking of my neighborhood. But no, I don't agree with having that in your backyard, because it could get abused. I mean, it might work out for, a caregiver or something like that, and then something happens and then they end up renting it out. And so, no, I don't agree with it.
Okay. Mr. Alexander, you'll take this question first. In the global news, climate change has been a very, very important topic. How do you feel Lexington should work towards efforts to reduce climate change?
Well, I don't think the city council can do anything about changing the climate. I do give Lexington kudos for the stormwater retention basins that they built, these big giant tanks. The recycling center, they've upgraded it. I don't have a problem with, everybody wants the same thing. We all have to have clean air and clean water. As far as the temperatures, I don't think, tree canopy could help just for the reflective heat from the asphalt. But as far as the actual climate, I don't think a city can do much with that.
Okay, Ms. Plomin. Ms. Plomin, your response to
that? When I first came into office, I was surprised how many different environmental efforts we already had, from litter cleanups to tree planting, stormwater. There was a lot of things in place. I think we need to increase the marketing of that so people know about them and the awareness. But the biggest thing, in 2005, I thought this was really interesting, that we were the largest city, or I think it was the largest city per capita in terms of our carbon blueprint. And we've changed that over the years, but we still have to work on everybody, like I said, they are driving their own cars with nobody else in them, the emission factor alone. So we've got to really work hard on that and look at more public transportation opportunities. We've got Imagine Nicholasville Road, where we're going to look at having speed buses going down the right lane instead of having to be in all the traffic, because that might make it a little bit more attractive. And then I see the stop sign, so I'm going to stop.
Thank you so much. This will be our last question before turning to closing remarks. And Ms. Plomin, you'll take it first.
Okay.
An important part of your duty as a council person is helping to pass an appropriate budget. What experience do you have that would qualify you to set the budget for such a large organization?
Well, obviously experience. 6 years of working on different budgets. We breaking down into links every spring, and we look at specific areas of the budget. And so I have rotated through 3 different links, so I get the bigger picture. I look at the budget. Public safety is 62% of our budget, and rightfully so. But and I've served on that, and have always supported any expenditures that will help our police, and fire, and also 911, because that is what a city and its residents, or that's what the residents expect. It's a basic need and a basic thing that we need to be providing. So I do have the experience, and I think the learning curve when you come on council is challenging. And so I'm there. I know what to do, and I know how to do it, and I know our resources, as I said earlier.
Thank you so much. Mr. Alexander.
I've never done a budget for a government. I've read their budget, but I would treat it the way I do it at home. I pay my bills and I don't borrow money. In this last budget, they tried to reduce the road paving, and they ended up increasing, I think, another $1 million, but that's borrowed money. Why should we borrow money to pave our roads? I think the city needs to have a balanced budget. I know they're relying on a bunch of federal money, but if you look at the federal government right now, we're 31 trillion in debt. That's not going to keep coming. The world is we're in dire straits, folks. The federal government everywhere, and money's going to become a big problem. And the city, their job is to do what the city charter was when the merger happened, and that's basically what they need to stick to, is just that. And that's the public safety is the number one paramount thing, and that also will help business and people move here, but they have to come to a safe city. So
Thank you so very much. And now we turn to our closing remarks. Mr. Alexander, you have 60 seconds for closing remarks.
yeah, I'm Raymond Alexander again, but I retired, and I thought I'd just, retire. But to me, this isn't something I, drove to or wanted to do. It's something I have to do. I have a 2-year-old granddaughter, and I fought for the country. I fought on the streets of Lexington to try to help this community, and I feel like I can still do more. And so I would appreciate anyone's vote and support. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Ms. Plomin.
Well, again, my experience, I think, speaks for itself. I've always been involved in this community, many, many leadership positions. I obviously love this community. I would not be going into my 4th term if I didn't think I had something to contribute. I balance the rural and I balance the non-rural very well. It's like having 2 different districts because the needs and the priorities are totally different. But I do it well. My constituents, I feel like I have really worked hard for them and have made things happen for them. So I appreciate your support. Anyone that's listening, and I'm sure there are people listening now, but but thank you for your confidence in me, and I continue to look forward to serving you in the capacity that I have.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you both candidates for participating today. The League really, really believes in having informed voters, and this goes a long way to making that happen. If you happen to be interested in League membership or would like to see more of these forums, please check out our website at lwvlexington.com. Make sure to make a plan. Make a plan to be sure to vote on November the 8th. If you're looking for additional information on voting and the candidates themselves, vote411.org is a great resource. And I thank you so much for joining us today.